What if one rule changed the course of NFL history? One decision, one snowy night, and one call that many still call the biggest robbery the league has ever seen. The date was January 19th, 2002. The Raiders were just seconds away from an unforgettable playoff victory. Charles Woodson delivered what looked like the game-sealing hit. The ball popped out. Greg Biekert recovered. The Raiders were heading to the AFC Championship until the rulebook was twisted in front of the whole world. They called it the Tuck Rule. But what it really did was ignite a dynasty for the Patriots while sending the Raiders into years of heartbreak, confusion, and conspiracy. In this video, we will walk you step by step through the infamous Tuck Rule scandal. You will learn why the call was made, who was behind the decision, and how it changed everything for NFL franchises. But that is not all. You will also hear the lesser-known parts of the story, why some NFL insiders believe it was more than just a bad call, and how this one moment may have been part of something much bigger behind the scenes. So stay with us until the end, because this is not just about a rule. It is about legacy, it is about justice, and it is about how the NFL may have forever robbed the Raiders of their rightful place in history. Welcome to History of Raiders. If you love stories the league tries to forget, make sure to subscribe, join our channel membership, and if you want to support this work, drop a super thanks down below. This is the truth behind the Tuck Rule. Let's begin. January 19th, 2002. Foxborough Stadium. The air was thick with cold. Snow drifted sideways under the stadium lights, turning the field into a frozen battlefield. Every breath looked like smoke. Every hit echoed louder in the still, icy night. This was playoff football. Raiders vs Patriots, two teams, one shot at glory, and zero margin for error. The Raiders entered the game with grit, power, and purpose, led by head coach John Gruden and quarterback Rich Gannon. They had clawed their way through the season. This was their moment. A win here would take them one step closer to the Super Bowl. On the other side stood the New England Patriots, a young Tom Brady at quarterback, still mostly unknown, still untested in the playoffs. Behind him, head coach Bill Belichick, calculating every move like a chess master in the snow. The game was tense from the start, not just because of the weather, but because everything felt like it was on the edge of something big. The snow made the ball slippery. Visibility dropped. Every drive was a struggle. Every snap carried weight. The cold pierced through gloves and pads, but nobody cared. This was the NFL playoffs. Pain was part of the price, and in the middle of it all, two teams battled possession after possession, fighting the clock, the storm, and each other. By the fourth quarter, the tension was unbearable. Foxborough was loud, but every fan could feel it. Something historic was about to happen, and nobody, not even the refs, would be ready for what came next. Before the chaos, before the controversy, it was just two teams on opposite paths. The Raiders came in as the more experienced and powerful force, led by Rich Gannon under center. They had veterans across the board, battle-tested players who had fought their way through the AFC. They were tough, they were aggressive, and they were hungry. Charles Woodson was their heart on defense, a Heisman winner, a lockdown corner, and a natural leader. He played with fire-controlled, precise, and violent when it mattered. That night in Foxborough, he was everywhere, fast, focused, and ready for blood. Next to him was Greg Biekert, a quiet enforcer in the middle, smart, dependable, and one of the best at reading plays before they happened. When it came to hustle and heart, few matched him. Then came the Patriots. They were not supposed to be here. After veteran quarterback Drew Bledsoe went down mid-season, the job fell to a sixth-round pick named Tom Brady. No one expected much. He was calm, almost too calm, but he played smart, protected the ball, and kept finding ways to win. Belichick had built a system around discipline and details. No flash, no big names, just execution. The Patriots were the underdogs, young, overlooked, and underestimated. But that is what made them dangerous. The Raiders, they were battle-hardened, built to dominate, The Patriots, they were just beginning something no one saw coming. And at the center of it all, three names would become immortal in this moment: Brady, Woodson, and Beckett. Only one of them would walk away with the ball. The fourth quarter was winding down. The scoreboard read Raiders 13, Patriots 10. Snow still fell like dust in the cold air. Every snap, every breath felt heavier than the last. The Raiders' defense had been grinding all night. They were one big play away from sealing it. They knew it. The Patriots knew it. And in that moment, the fate of the game hung by a thread. New England had the ball. Brady stood in the shotgun call. Calm, steady. He called the play. The crowd roared. The clock ticked. Brady took the snap and dropped back. He scanned the field, eyes darting. Then, in a split second, Woodson broke through. Charles Woodson, with perfect timing and no hesitation, came flying in from the blind side. Helmet down, arms swinging, he hit Brady clean. No doubt, no hesitation, and just like that the ball was loose, rolled into the snow, bouncing between helmets and hands. Greg Beckett dove, cleats slipping, gloves freezing. He cradled it to his chest. Fumble. Raiders ball. Game over. For a moment, time stood still. Raiders players threw their hands in the air. On the sidelines, Gruden was screaming with joy. Fans back in Oakland were shouting, dancing, already dreaming of the next round. This was the play. This was the moment that was supposed to send the Raiders forward and bury the Patriots' season in the snow. But the celebration was brief. The cameras panned to the referees. One of them made a gesture, hands to headset. They were going to review the play. And with that signal, the tone shifted from triumph to uncertainty. As the snow continued to fall, the referees huddled under the hood. The stadium was silent. Players waited. Coaches paced. The replay played over and over on the big screen. Charles Woodson's hit, the ball slipping from Brady's hands. Greg Beckett's recovery in the snow. To every Raiders player on the field, to every fan watching at home, this was a fumble. Plain and simple. But then came something strange. The referee announced the play was under review for a potential incomplete pass. That made no sense. Brady had not thrown the ball. He had pulled it back. He was tucking it away to protect it. And that is where the controversy begins. According to the NFL rulebook at the time, any intentional forward movement of the quarterback's arm starts a forward pass, even if the player loses possession of the ball while attempting to tuck it back toward his body. This was called the tuck rule. So, under that technicality, even though Brady was no longer trying to throw, even though he was pulling the ball in, because his arm had once moved forward, the NFL counted the play as an incomplete pass, not a fumble. The Raiders' sideline exploded in disbelief. Woodson screamed at the officials. Beckett stood stunned, holding the ball he thought had sealed the game. But it did not matter. The ruling was made. The Patriots got the ball back. And just like that, the Raiders went from holding victory in their hands to watching it slip away through a loophole. Buried deep in the rulebook, referee Walt Coleman stepped away from the monitor. The stadium held its breath. The snow still fell, but time felt frozen. The Raiders had the ball. They had the game. They had the win. But then, Coleman raised his microphone. The quarterback's arm was moving forward. He said, "By rule, it is an incomplete pass." That was it. No explanation. No hesitation. Just one sentence that ripped the heart out of Raider Nation. The sideline erupted, but not with celebration. Confusion turned into anger. Players screamed. Coaches threw up their hands. John Gruden's face said it all, pure disbelief. The fumble was gone. The win was gone. The Patriots had the ball again. It happened so fast. Just seconds before, the Raiders were preparing to run out the clock. Now, they were back on defense, forced to fight again for a game they had already won. Charles Woodson later said, "It was a BS call." He was not alone. Greg Beckett, the man who recovered the fumble, said, "That ball was ours." Everyone knew it. Even some Patriots fans were surprised. But none of it mattered. The officials had made the call. The rule had been applied. And the Raiders, just like that, went from celebration to crisis. Walt Coleman never offered a deeper explanation. He followed the rule, at least. The rule as it was written. But to the Raiders and to millions watching, it felt like something was stolen, something that could never be returned. The Patriots had new life. One replay changed everything. And now Tom Brady had the ball in his hands once again. The Raiders' defense, tired and shaken, took the field. They had just made the biggest play of the game. Now they were being asked to do it all over again. The snow kept falling, heavier now. Footing was worse. Visibility was fading. But Brady was calm. He moved slowly down the field, short passes, screens, quick reads. The crowd roared louder with each yard gained. The Raiders tried. They blitzed. They dropped back. But nothing worked. Brady marched the Patriots just far enough, and when the drive stalled, out came Adam Vinatieri. There were 27 seconds left. The ball was placed 45 yards from the uprights. The wind was blowing. The snow was thick. The field looked more like ice than grass. It was one of the toughest kicks in playoff history. Vinatieri stepped up. The snap was clean. The hold was perfect. He kicked it low and straight right through the snowstorm. It split the uprights. High game. Foxborough exploded. The sidelines burst into celebration. And the Raiders stood frozen. Their lead was gone. Their moment was slipping away. It was not just the kick, it was the timing, the emotion, the sense that something bigger was happening, and they could not stop it. For Raiders fans, it was a nightmare unfolding in real time. And it was only getting worse. The game was tied. Snow blanketed the field like a curse. The scoreboard glowed through the storm. It was going to overtime. The coin went up. Every Raiders fan held their breath. Heads or tails. One flip could shape history. The Patriots won the toss. They would get the ball first. No one knew it yet, but the Raiders' offense would never see the field again. Brady took over at his own 35. The crowd was electric. Every step he took seemed to carry momentum. He moved quickly, short throws, check downs, precision. The Raiders' defense was exhausted, mentally and physically. They had been robbed once. Now they were being buried. Brady drove the Patriots downfield with quiet control. No mistakes. No panic. Just rhythm. One pass after another, slicing through the storm. By the time they reached the red zone, the outcome felt written. There was no urgency, just execution. Like it was all meant to happen this way. The ball was placed. Adam Vinatieri lined up again. This time, a 23-yard field goal. No drama. No long shot. Just a chip shot through the snow. The kick was up, and just like that, it was over. Patriots 16, Raiders 13. The New England sideline exploded in celebration. Fans screamed. Players hugged. Confetti would have fallen if not for the snow, and across the field, the Raiders stood in silence. No words. No arguments. Just heartbreak. They had played to win. They had made the play, but the rule book had other plans. Foxborough celebrated. Oakland mourned, and the league moved on. The snow had barely melted when the Patriots played again. They had escaped Foxborough with a win that never felt quite real. But in the standings, it counted, and that was all that mattered. 2 weeks later, New England faced the Pittsburgh Steelers in the AFC Championship. Again, they were the underdogs. Again, Brady led the way. And once again, Vinatieri's leg delivered points when it mattered most. The Patriots won. And just like that, they were going to the Super Bowl 36, New England versus the St. Louis Rams. The Rams were stacked, the greatest show on turf. Kurt Warner, Marshall Faulk, Isaac Bruce, Torrey Holt. They were expected to roll right over the Patriots. But that is not what happened. Brady played smart. The Patriots' defense was relentless. They kept the game close. They kept fighting. Then, with the score tied and the clock winding down, Brady drove his team into field goal range. And once again, Vinatieri ended it. A 48-yard kick. Right down the middle. The Patriots were champions. From a sixth-round quarterback no one believed in, to a team led by defense and discipline, to one of the biggest upsets in Super Bowl history. And none of it would have happened without the tuck rule. That moment gave them the spark. That game in the snow gave them belief. The Raiders' loss was the Patriots' beginning. What seemed like a lucky break turned into a new era of dominance, because after that win, the Patriots did not slow down. They built a dynasty, and it all started on that cold January night when a fumble was not a fumble. The Patriots moved on, but the Raiders were left behind, and they did not just lose a game. They lost trust in the league. Inside the Raiders' locker room, there was silence, not just sadness, not just anger, something deeper, a feeling that they had been set up. Many in the organization believed it, that the NFL wanted the Patriots to win, that Tom Brady was the new face the league wanted to protect, that old Davis and the Raiders were no longer welcome. Davis had clashed with the league for decades. He had sued them, challenged them, refused to follow their rules. He was bold, defiant, unafraid, and many believed that the league had been waiting for a chance to strike back. The tuck rule gave them that chance, and the damage went deeper than the scoreboard. Just weeks later, head coach John Gruden was gone, traded to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It shocked fans and players alike. Gruden was young, smart, charismatic. He had built the team, and now he was gone. Insiders say the tension between Gruden and Al Davis had grown after the loss. Others believe the league wanted him out of Oakland altogether. Whatever the truth was, the Raiders lost their leader. What followed was a sharp decline. The Raiders made the Super Bowl the next season, but after that, everything fell apart. For nearly 2 decades, they became a team stuck in the past. Bad seasons, coaching changes, draft mistakes. The tuck rule was more than just a moment. It was the start of a spiral, one that Raider Nation still feels to this day. For more than a decade, the tuck rule stayed in the NFL rule book. Even after the controversy, even after the outrage, even after the damage it was rarely used. But it was always there, a quiet reminder of that snowy night in Foxborough. Every time it came up again, Raiders fans shook their heads, and each time the memories returned: the hit, the fumble, the call, the collapse. Year after year, the rule remained, until finally, in March 2013, the league made a decision. The NFL owners voted to abolish the tuck rule. The vote passed with 29 teams in favor. 1 team voted against, another two abstained. The Raiders, they voted to kill it. Of course they did. By then, it was too late. The damage was done. A dynasty had risen. A fan base had never healed. But then came a moment no one expected. Years later, Tom Brady himself spoke about the play on national television with a smile. He said it, "I think it might have been a fumble." Just like that. 1 sentence, no apology, no regret. Just a casual admission that confirmed what millions had believed all along, that it was a fumble. But the league had protected him. The rule had saved him. And the Raiders had paid the price. Even now, the tuck rule lives in NFL history books, not as a smart rule, not as a fair rule, but as a loophole that changed the future of football. It has been more than 2 decades, yet for Raiders fans the pain still burns. Ask any old school member of Raider Nation about the tuck rule. They will not hesitate. They will tell you it was robbery. Some call it the bane of Raider Nation, a moment that still haunts them like a scar that never healed too many. It was never just about a rule. It was about respect, about fairness, about a team that always fought the league and finally got crushed by it. Even today, some fans refuse to rewatch the game. Some cannot even say the words tuck rule without shaking their head. It is a sore spot, a moment of betrayal. On the other side, Patriots fans remember it differently. To them, it was destiny, the birth of a new chapter, a game where their unknown quarterback proved he could win in the snow, and a moment that sparked the greatest run in modern NFL history. The two sides will never agree. For the Raiders, it was the end of something. For the Patriots, it was the beginning. And somewhere in the middle, the NFL stood silently, watching history unfold through a rule that never made sense. Even now, analysts debate it. Fans still argue. The moment still sparks emotion, still fuels podcast debates, still trends every time Brady is mentioned in postseason greatness. It is more than a call. More than a game, it is one of the few moments in NFL history that forever split football culture into, with one side feeling robbed and the other celebrating a miracle. One call, one rule, one cold night in Foxborough. That was all it took to change the course of NFL history. For the Patriots, it became the spark of a dynasty, 6 Super Bowl rings to decades of dominance, and the rise of Tom Brady as the face of football. But for the Raiders, it became something very different. A moment that tore through the heart of the franchise. A moment that shattered trust, fueled conspiracy, and led to years of heartbreak. The Tuck rule was more than a bad break. It was a turning point that sent John Gruden packing. It sent the Raiders spiraling. And it left fans wondering if the league had chosen sides that day. So, we ask the question, was it justice? Or was it robbery? Only the rule book could answer back then. And now, that rule is gone. But its legacy still lingers. Every snow game, every playoff fumble, every time the Raiders fall short, the memory returns. Because for Raider Nation, this was not just about football. It was about being silenced. It was about being cheated. It was about being erased from a victory they had already earned. And the story does not end there. In our next video, we dive deep into what happened after the Tuck rule, how John Gruden's sudden departure changed the Raiders forever. What really happened behind closed doors, and how the fallout shaped to decades of disappointment. So, if you enjoyed this story and want more untold Raiders history, like this video, subscribe to our channel and drop a super thanks to support the work. This is History of Raiders, and this is just the beginning.